There we're here. Demon Hunter. Ryan, how's it going with you in the land of Nova Scotia?
Awesome. Yeah, we're just glad to be out of the snow. It's a beautiful city.
Because I've heard that Nova Scotia and Canada in general have been having bad weather, for traveling.
Oh, yeah. The weather's been a little scary, but the shows have kind of made up for it. The shows have been incredible.
How's the turnouts, in Canada?
Great. Better than the U.S. Shows. So we were really stoked. Yeah, it's our first time up here, so it's great to be up here with a band like In Flames, where it's, they've been doing it long enough, and they have the fan base enough, that really kind of packs the place out. So it's really cool to play for a bunch of people that probably haven't heard us before, kind of turn them on to our band. So that's kind of the best way to visit a new place.
And then when you got social media going, you play one show, and then all of a sudden your numbers go up.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
And then other people see and discover the band.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yep, for sure.
And how is it working for Demon Hunter?
It's been great. It's been really good. I mean, we do have a good handful of fans up here that have waited a long time to see us. But then we've got a lot of people that first-time watchers, first-time listeners. So that's been great too.
Because nowadays it's getting harder. There's so much music and bands being produced every minute.
Right.
How do you keep up on top of that?
Man, I'm definitely glad that we got started when we did. I feel like when we started this band, it was just before the industry started getting really ridiculously saturated with a ton of bands, and labels started signing anything and everything, and then the kind of crash of the music industry and record sales and things like that. We kind of jumped into this, at least with this band, we jumped into it right before all that stuff started happening. So I think we kind of were fortunate enough to cultivate a real fan base before all that stuff started happening. I feel bad for bands that are trying to start right now, just with the amount of other bands, the competition, all that stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people playing music these days.
That's true. And but now making money as a musician I'm sure it's getting harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because again with the competition, what you got in the economy collapse in a sense. Mm-hmm. And then people that can't afford a ticket to get to see your show. But how do you look at that?
You definitely have to get creative. We like to make sure that we give a quality product no matter what you're talking about, whether it's something that we're selling, whether it's a CD or a t-shirt or a merch item or a ticket to a show, or whether it's something that's free, whether that's a music video or little interviews and things that we do. We try and do the best kind of quality, all-encompassing package that we can do, and I think that's part of the reason why we've held on to such a strong fan base over the years. Is I try to go to the extra mile to make sure things are done right and they're done well. So I think that's kind of held us above water a little bit. But yeah, you definitely have to get creative in this day and age. You have to incentivize things. You have to make it worth people's time. There's a lot of shows, there's a lot of tours, there's a lot of festivals, there's a lot of choices for people. So you have to make it worth their while, And I think also another way that we've kind of weathered that storm, and it wasn't something that we did on purpose, but we toured pretty infrequently. These last 2 years we've actually toured more than we ever have on one record cycle. But we used to just do one short U.S. tour every record cycle, and so if you wanted to see us play, you were only going to get a chance like once every 2 years. And I think that actually worked in our favor because we weren't, in people's towns like 3 times a year.
Right.
And so I think it kind of built up this desire to actually go see our show. I think it really helped the first few years that we toured for sure. It really helped kind of bring out large crowds when we did play. But yeah, I think making things exclusive and making them interesting and unique, you definitely have to kind of put your thinking cap on right now in terms of how to sell yourself and market yourself as a band.
and take your time every day to post a message, little stuff like that.
Yep, you got to go the extra mile.
The importance of a promo video now, do you think it's more important than it's ever been?
Yeah, it could be. Video, the whole world of video has changed so much. Bands, you used to do a video and the ultimate goal was to get it on MTV.
Right.
Now that doesn't really even exist for bands like us. So for us, we're kind of responsible to get it in front of as many eyes as possible. We're technically our own channel or distributor for any kind of videos we do, whether they're promotional or music videos or an album advertisement or something like that. We have to push it, as hard as we can, get it in front of as many eyes as we can. But I think it's a really necessary tool for a band to kind of showcase what you are as a whole. There's the music, and that's important, and then there's everything outside of the music. And fans really want to see what they look like, what you sound like, what how you are as normal people, and all that kind of stuff. Your creativity when it comes to music videos and things like that. So it's definitely an important element to a band, I think.
Let's say for Demon Hunter's next album, how's the influences going to be looked at to making the album?
My influences when writing haven't changed much over the years. I definitely try to inject a little something new every single time. I like to push the limits of what we do, making things maybe a little bit faster or a little bit more technical, within the realm of what we do. We're not necessarily a technical band, but within kind of the blueprint that we have, I like to push things at least a little bit to keep them interesting and unique. But yeah, I would say most of my influences over the last 6 records have all kind of been rooted in mostly 90s metal.
Right.
What I would kind of consider the golden age of heavy metal, at least for me growing up. It was bands like Sepultura and Machine Head and Slayer and Pantera and Deftones, things like that. Those are still they seem to kind of always creep back into my mind when I'm writing. So I'm sure it'll be a lot of that. And then when I'm at home, I'm seldom taken aback by a lot of new modern metal. There's a few bands that I think are really great and are kind of pushing the envelope, doing something new and cool and interesting. But because of that, I don't end up listening to a ton of metal. Right. So I think I get a lot of outside influence from non-metal stuff. And I think it might not sound exactly like the stuff I hear because I'm kind of injecting it into a metal, mold. But I think there is something there that when it kind of goes through that filter, it makes us sound a little bit different than your average metal band.
For the future, let's say, do you think metal in general is going to evolve so much? Because let's say for speed and the whole environment of it, when is it going to be enough and you can't go faster, or you're starting to repeat your 10 years ago what was being done?
Well, you definitely see the trends kind of happening where there's bands kind of doing the throwback sound, which is cool. It's cool to hear. You have bands like Warbringer that kind of sound like an old school thrash band, and that's kind of becoming popular. It's definitely for a trend. It's a good trend, in my opinion. But yeah, there's that. There's kind of the throwback thing where they record it to sound like it's kind of older too. Kind of sounds like an old Sepultura record or something. And then there's bands that are kind of taking the genre and totally tweaking it and adding all these kind of outside influences to it. That's the kind of stuff that I have more trouble swallowing, all the bands that are kind of brightly coloring the metal scene. Right. A lot of young new bands that are kind of injecting a lot of dance music into it and stuff like that. That, sometimes I feel like an old man, but that just goes, I don't get that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, you can see it evolving and changing, and some's going to be good and some's going to be bad.
Of course.
I'm sure in the future people are going to just take it to some ridiculous level on every side, you know. But there is definitely a good handful of bands that still, you know, that I still really dig.
Where are you guys gonna go this summer?
We've got, after this, we go home for a couple weeks and we go to Australia for a week.
Okay.
And then we've got a couple weeks off and we go to South America for about a week. And after that, it's writing and hopefully recording in the late summer. So I'm kind of coring out the summer and fall to hopefully write and record.
What is it that the genre of music always tours in February in Canada? Is there something to that?
Man, this is the first time we've toured in the winter period.
Okay.
In 10 years is the first time. It just, for us, it just happened to work out. But yeah, we were a little curious as to why we were going up to Canada in February. And it's been an adventure for sure. Just like
safety on the road and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great driver, and he's been amazing. He's been doing it for, 30, 40 years. So we're in really good hands. But yeah, it has been definitely a lot different than most of our tours, which are usually sweltering hot.
Yeah.
Complete opposite.
It was a really good pleasure talking to you about all this
Thanks.
diverse stuff. And not your regular interview, I guess, but it's great. And welcome to Nova Scotia, Canada.
Thank you.
And you have a great show tonight at the Cunard Centre.
Thanks.
Very welcome.